Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you an ultimate guide to all Moho tools. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, you'll find this video helpful and informative. I will explain each tool and every option that we have for those tools and show you some examples of how to use them in your projects. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of all the tools of Moho and be able to create stunning animation with confidence. So without further ado, let's get started. When you open your Moho, you should have the tools at the left side of your screen. If you don't have them, you have to go to Window and from here check Tools. Also, if you want to dock it, you can check Tools here, and if you uncheck this option, you can freely move your tools all around the screen. Since we don't have any shape, the first tool that I'm going to talk about is Draw Shape tool. The shortcut is S, so by hitting the S key, you can select this tool. To know the shortcut of every tool, you can hold your mouse on that tool like this, and you can see them. When you select a tool, the options of that tool are going to be shown at the top here. When you select this tool, you can choose the type of your shape from here, and if you drag, you can draw a shape. Let me hit Ctrl Z. If you want to draw a shape with different color, you can choose your color before you draw it from here, like this. And also, when you want to draw something, if you want to draw from the center, you can hold down the Alt key like this. And now, as you can see, I can change the proportion of this rectangle while I'm drawing it. But if you hold down the Shift, you can draw a square. You can say the same thing about the circle. See? If I hold down the Alt key and Shift, I can draw a circle from the center without changing its proportions. But when you want to draw a star, there is no need to hold down the Alt key. It always draws the stars from the center. See? And as you can see, these two options are gray now and they are not active. If you choose grid, you can choose the number of rectangles in both x-axis and y-axis to draw your grid. So for example, we can type 2 here and 2 for the other one, and if you draw it, we will have a 2 times 2 grid. Another thing is that if you want to reset all of the settings that we have here, you can just hold your left click on this option and release the click on one of these two options. This one is going to reset the current tool, the selected one, and this one is going to reset all of the tools that you have in Moho. So in this case, let's say we want to reset the current tool, the selected one, which is going to be Draw Shape tool. So we release the click on this one. See? Everything will go back to normal. Using this tool, you can select the points. But we don't actually use this tool just to select the points. In fact, when you're using transform tool or for example curvature tool, you still can select the points. So there is no need to select this tool so you can select the points, you know? This tool has two practical options. One is weld crossing and the other one is split. And also to select a shape, there are multiple ways. For example, if you want to select all of the points in a shape, you can click in the middle of that shape like this, somewhere in the middle. You don't need to do it precisely. And now if I click on split, I can have a point exactly in the middle of every edge that I have. When we say edge, we mean the part of the path that we have between every 2 points. So for example, to select this edge between these 2 points, you have to select these 2 points. To select some points, all you have to do is to drag like this. Now we can say that this edge is selected, and if we click on split, we can have a point in the middle of this edge and not the other ones. When using this tool to add to your selection, you can hold down Shift like this and then drag. And to subtract from your selection, all you have to do is to hold down the Alt like this. Next, we have weld crossing. So to teach it, I'm going to hit Ctrl Z, and again, to remove the extra points of this circle, then I'm going to hit the S key, select the circle, and draw another circle next to it. The shortcut of the Select Points tool is G, so I'm going to hit G to select it. And as you can see, this shape is now selected automatically. To add the points of this shape to our selection, we can hold down the Shift key and click in the middle of it. And if we click on weld crossing, we will have 2 points when the paths of these two shapes intersect each other. See? Here and here. We usually use this option, weld crossing, to subtract a shape from another. See? If I hit the D key, I can delete these parts of the shape. And then I can hit the G key again to select the Select Points tool. Select this point, delete it. Then to remove the stroke, I can select this tool to delete it. I can click on it here and here. We only deleted the shape and not the path, so we can go here, hold down the Control, select all of the points that we have here and choose Create Shape. See? That's where you can use weld crossing. The next option is Transform Points tool, this one. The shortcut is T, so I hit the T key. If you click in the middle of a shape, you still can select using this tool. As you can see, we have selected all of the points around this shape. There is an anchor point in the middle of it. If we rotate the shape, we can rotate it around that anchor point. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z. You can move it to somewhere else. And now if we rotate it, it will rotate the shape around this anchor point. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z again. To reset your anchor point, you hold down the Control, click on somewhere to deselect all of these points, and you just click in the middle of the shape again. See? We have it back. As you can see, we have two rectangles, one small, one big. If you drag inside the smaller one, you can move this shape, or if you drag outside of the bigger one, you can also move it. To rotate it, you have to drag somewhere between these two rectangles, like this. And also using these points, you can change the scale of your shape. Using corner points, you can change the scale of the shape in x-axis and y-axis. See? And while doing this, if you hold on the Shift key, you can change its proportions. See? I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z. And using the other 4 points, you can change the scale of your shape only in one axis. So using this one, you can scale it from the left side, or the right side, or top, or bottom. Using this one, you can flip your shape horizontally, and using this one, you can flip it vertically. See? Horizontally and vertically. If you want to select some points to add to your selection, you have to hold down the Control and Shift and drag like this to add to your selection. If you want to subtract from your selection, you have to hold down the Control and Alt and drag to subtract it from your selection. Also, let me hold down the Control and click on somewhere. As you can see, if you want to move one of these points individually, you just have to drag on it. But the curve that we have here is changing. See? It moves. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and again. So using this one, you can show the bezier handles. And using this one, the other points that are unselected will be fixed. So now if I move this point, the curvature of this point won't change. Let me hit Ctrl Z, but as soon as you turn it off and move it, it will change. Let me hit Ctrl Z again. Next we have this tool. Using this one, you can draw shapes and also add point to the shapes that you've created. To use it, you just have to drag. Let me turn the handles off by clicking on here so we can see our path better. And now that we have a path, if I hold my mouse on that path, I can see a red point, which means that we can add a point to this path. And if you hold your mouse on a point, it will become green. And now if you drag, you can continue your path. And to close it, you have to make sure first this option is checked. And now if I drag from here to here, it will be closed. Every time you check autofill, it will automatically add fill to your shape. And every time you check auto stroke, it will automatically add stroke to your shape. Next, we have sharp corners. If you check it by dragging on the path like this, you can add a sharp point to it. And if I uncheck it, I can add curve points. See? Then we have curvature. Using this tool, if you have a sharp point, you can hold down the Control and drag to select it and click on here or here to make it smooth like this. And if you have selected a smooth point like this one, you can make it sharp using this one. By dragging on a point, you can make it smooth for yourself. Dragging to the right, make it smooth. Dragging to the left, make it sharp. Let me reset it. To move one handle individually, you can hold down the Alt and drag on that handle like this. And after moving one handle individually, if you want to move both of them again, you have to move that handle until you align both of them, and after that, they will both move with each other. If you face a problem like this one, you can fix it by clicking on here. Next, we have Freehand tool. Using this tool, you can draw a stroke only. I'm going to hold down the Alt key and drag to the right to increase the size of my brush. If you want to decrease it, you have to hold down the Alt and drag to the left. And as you can see, the color of my stroke is now black. So if I draw, I will have a black stroke, a thick one. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. You may want to use it with a brush, so you can click on here and select a brush for yourself, for example this one, and click on OK. And now if I draw, I will have a stroke created by that brush. Let me click on here and turn off my brush and click on OK. I explained Draw Shape tool at the beginning of this tutorial, so now it's time to talk about Delete Edge tool. Using this one, you can delete the edges of your shape. As I explained to you, an edge means a part of a path that we have between 2 points. For example, here we have a point here and another one here, and this is our path. See? So it means that we have an edge here. So if you click on that edge will be deleted. Next, we have Magnet tool here. Using Alt key, you can adjust the size of your brush by holding down the Alt and dragging to the right. You can increase the size of it, and by dragging to the left, you can decrease it. Using this tool, you can change the position of some points at the same time. The main focus of this tool is at the center of this circle, but it also has some effects on the other points that are inside this circle. So for example, see these 3 points here and the other points around it. If we want to move them all, but move these 3 points here more than the other ones, we can use Magnet. See? I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. If you want to move the points that are selected and not the other ones, you can check this option. So for example, if we check it and hold on the Alt and make the size of it bigger and try to move these points, these ones that are not selected won't move. We only can move the ones that are selected. Next, we have this tool, which is called Blob Brush. And the difference between this tool and that one is that using Blob Brush, you can draw strokes and fills. But using Freehand tool, we could draw a stroke only. So now since Blob Brush is selected, we can draw and have a shape. To add to that shape, you have to check this option and also make sure that your shape is selected. So to select a shape, you can hit Q or select this tool and select that shape by clicking on it. And then I'm going to hit the J key or click on here to select the Blob Brush. And now I can draw to add to my selection. If you want to subtract something from it, you can use Control like this. Let me hit Ctrl Z. Another way is to use this tool, Eraser. The shortcut is E. And using it, you can subtract from the shapes that are selected. It doesn't have any effect on the shapes that are not selected. Also, there is a bug with this tool. Let's say we start dragging. If your mouse goes outside of your workspace, like here, and you release the click, instead of subtracting, it's gonna draw a shape. To reset my view, I'm gonna hit the home key on my keyboard. The next tool is point reduction. To explain it, first I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the Control and press A to select every point that I have in my layer, and then I hit the delete key to delete all of them. Then I'm gonna use Blob Brush, so I hit the J key to select it. And if you want to draw a shape with a lot of points, you have to reduce this number. So now because this number is 0 for me, if I draw something and hit the T key, you can see that this shape has a lot of points. There are multiple ways to reduce the number of them. If you want to reduce the number of selected points only, you can use Simplify. So if I click on it, we can have less points. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. But if you want to reduce the number of points in some part of this shape, you can choose this tool. And as you can see, it has a brush. By holding down the Alt and dragging to the right or left, you can adjust the size of it. And wherever you use this tool, you can have less points there. See? Next, we have this tool. Using this, you can draw different kinds of shapes. See? These are the kind of shapes that you can draw. For example, now bubbles is selected. If we drag, we can have some bubbles. By playing your animation, you can see that they're moving. The scale of them are changing and they've been animated. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and click on here to go back to frame 0. When using this tool, this one is the minimum size of your brush and this one is the maximum size of your brush. So when you draw, it creates bubbles with different sizes. Some of them are small, some of them are big. So this is the size of the smallest one and this is the size of the biggest one. Also, if you click on here, you can flip the shapes that you have selected to draw in X-axis or Y-axis. And using stroke color jitter, you can draw the type of shape that you have selected to draw with various stroke colors. Using this one, you can change the variation of the fill of your shapes. This one is the space between your shapes when you want to create them. And this one is the variation of the angles of your shapes. If you increase it, you will see a significant difference in the angle of your shapes. Although we have some animations for the bubbles, when you want to use the other types of shapes, you won't have an animation for them. See? If we draw something rather than bubbles and play, we won't have any keyframe for their points and only the points of the bubbles will be changing. Let me hit Ctrl Z and click on here. Another thing is that you can click in the middle of a shape that you've drawn, like this one. Hit Ctrl C to copy it to your clipboard. And then when using this tool, you can draw the shapes that you've copied to your clipboard using this option. Now if I draw, you can see that we're actually drawing this shape. So it's actually a good way to quickly repeat your shape with some variation. Let me hit Ctrl Z and again and hit the T key. To use the rest of the tools, you have to select some points. So I'm gonna click in the middle of this shape to select it, and then I can select perspective points. If we drag to the right or left, bottom or top, it will change the position of the points. So we will have an illusion of perspective. Why I said illusion? Because it's not real. Why is that? If you click on here and orbit around your shape, you can see that it's completely flat. It only changes the position of the points and the width of the stroke. So you would think that maybe this shape is in perspective, but you're wrong. To reset my view, I'm gonna hit Home key on the keyboard and then I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and again, using this tool, Shear Points, if you drag to the right, the top side of your shape goes to the right and the bottom side of your shape goes to the left. And to do the reverse, you just have to drag to the left. See? You can also do the same thing in vertical direction. See? I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z. Next, we have this tool, Bend Points. Using this tool, you can bend your shapes. So now, if I drag to the bottom, I can bend this shape from here, or we can bend towards the other side, like this. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z. Note that you have to have some points to bend your shapes. So for example, you can't bend a rectangle because it only has 4 points at the corner of it. You have to add some points to its edges so you can bend it. Using this tool, you can also bend your shape from the sides. See, like this or this. Next, we have noise. The shortcut is N. So after you select it, if you drag to the right, every point that you have selected will choose a direction to go. And the more you drag to the right, the more each one of these points go through their directions. So it will create some noise on your shape. Again, you have to have a lot of points to create a noise effect. If you don't have any point, you're not gonna see any noise. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and again, And as you can see, now this section is completed. We explained all of the tools in this section. This section is called Draw. Every tools that you have in this section are related to the selected points and nothing else. But the tools in this section are related to the shapes and they don't have any effect on the path or the position of the points. Using this one, we can choose our shapes, remove their strokes or add some strokes to them, or remove their fill or add it. These options are the same as these ones. There is no difference. Also, you can change the color of your fill or stroke. To pick a color for your stroke or your fill, you just left click and hold on the eyedropper next to them and release your click on one of these colors or every color that you have in your workspace. To change your width, you can type any number that you want here. For example, let's say 4. Let me choose a black color for it so you can see it better. But you can't type 0 here. If you type 0, it will become 0.25. You can't go less than 0.25. If you want to make it 0, you can just uncheck stroke like this. Also, when you select a shape, you can apply 2 styles and 2 effects to your selected shape. For example, let's say we select shaded and click on OK. And now we will have a shadow for our shape. To remove a shadow from a shape, you have to first select it, and then by clicking on here, you can choose plane to remove its effect. I'm gonna click on here to minimize this window. By the way, I already have a video about the style window. You can go and watch it. Next, we have create shape tool. Using this tool, we can create a shape from the path. I'm gonna hit the S key to select the draw shape tool, and then I'm gonna remove these 2 checks because I only want to draw a path and not stroke nor fill. And then I draw my circle, and then I draw another circle inside of it. If I hit the U key to select the create shape tool, by holding down the control, you can select every point that you want, like these points. And then you can check the type of your shape from here. If you want your shape to have both fill and stroke, you can check both, or you can check one of these ones. Then you click on create shape. And this way you can create a hole in your shapes. Or for example, let's say we choose this tool, add point tool, and we uncheck autofill. Then you can draw something. And to create a shape from this path, all you have to do is to hit the U key to select the create shape tool, and by holding down the control you can select it and then you choose create shape. Or as I explained to you, when you have 2 shapes like a rectangle and a circle, you can hit the G key, drag to select all of these points and choose weld crossing to create some points here and here. Then you hit the D key to select the delete edge tool and you drag to remove one of these edges and maybe that one. It's better to leave one point to delete it using the transform tool, T key, or select points tool, G key. So I drag to select it and then I hit the delete key. Now to combine my shapes, I hit the U key, hold down the control and select all of these points, and then I click on create shape. So using this tool, we only can create shapes when we have a path, but it's a really useful shape when it comes to combining some shapes or subtracting a shape from another or create some holes, you know? Let me hit Ctrl Z and again and choose paint bucket. Using paint bucket, sometimes you can create new shapes and sometimes you can fill a part of your shape. But you should know that in these kind of cases, it's better for us to have some points here and here. So first we should hit the G key to select the select points tool, select all of these points, click on weld crossing to have some points here and here. Then I select my paint bucket and click in the middle of this one. When you create a shape, to delete that shape only without deleting its path, you can use this one. See? Now if I hit the T key, you can see that we still have that path. Next we have line width tool. The shortcut is W. If you select it, this tool only recognizes the selected points and nothing else, not the shapes, not the path, only selected points. So I'm gonna hit the T key, click in the middle of this shape to select all of its points. Then I'm gonna hit W, and by dragging to the right, I can increase the width of them. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z. You can also hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere to change the width of the points individually. Now it only changes the width of the points that are inside this circle. If you don't want this circle, you can turn this off. And now if I drag on here, I can increase the width of it. Or for example here. See? Every time you change the width of a point, you're actually increasing this number. So now, since this point is selected and the number of it is 5000, if I, for example, type 2000, you can see that we have reduced its width. The difference between this number and the actual width is that it's going to consider your width as 100%. So if you type 100 here, it means that the width of this point is 0.25. And if you want to make it 2 times bigger, you can type 200. Or to make it 20 times bigger, you can type 2000. See? This is how it's going to work. Also, when using magnet mode, you can hold down the Alt key and increase the size of it. And now the main focus of this tool will be at the center of this circle, but it also has some effects on the other points that are inside this circle. So if we drag on here, it will also have some effects on that one. Next, we have this tool, Hide Edge. By now you should know what it means when we say edge, the part of the path between 2 points. So for example, to hide this part of the path, you can click on here. Or for example, let me hit Q and select this one and type 8 for its width. And now if we click on Hide Edge, we can hide some of its edges like this. To bring them back, all you have to do is just to click on that edge again. See? Let me hit the T key and Ctrl A to select all of the points. And then I hit the delete key to delete all of the shapes. Next, I'm gonna hit the S key to select the Draw Shape tool. And I'm gonna check these 2 options to have fill and stroke. And I draw a rectangle. If you have worked with Adobe After Effects, there is an effect in that software called Trim Path. We have the same effect in Moho and it's called Stroke Exposure. And if you select it, we will have 2 options at the top, Start Percentage and End Percentage. To use it, first, make sure you select the points of the shape that you want to trim its stroke. Then we click on here, frame 24, and type 100 here. And because I want to play this part of my animation over and over, I hold down the Control and right click on frame 24 and press spacebar on my keyboard to play my animation. See? So through your animation, this tool is going to trim your stroke more and more until it's gone. If you want to do the reverse, instead of typing 100 here, let me remove this keyframe. You can type 0 for this one and press enter. And now if I play my animation, it will do the reverse. Let me delete it and go back to frame 0. Next, we have Curve Profile. To use it, you have to have a shape in one layer and a path in another layer. So I'm going to create a new layer and draw my path. To draw my path, I'm going to use Add Point tool. So I click on here, and to begin, I'm going to draw a straight path. Then I'm going to click on here to select layer 1, which includes my shape. And then I'm going to choose Curve Profile tool. And then you have to choose your path. So I'm going to say that this is my path by clicking on it. And as you can see, nothing's going to happen. And the reason is the path that we have created is a straight line. If we select the other layer and hit A and drag to add some points, you can see that it's going to repeat the same pattern to every edge of your shape. So if you want to change this pattern, you will see the same changes here on your shape. And it's a very good way to create your shapes, because if you hit the T key and select the main layer, layer 1, I'm going to hold down the Control and click on somewhere, you can see that it only has 4 points. so it has less points than when you create the same shape without Curve Profile tool. But it also has its own disadvantages. For instance, we can't edit the path when the layer of our shape is selected. We only can change the path when the layer of the path is selected. Using these points, we can change it. What it does is that it repeats the pattern over and over until it reaches a point. To change this repetition, first I'm going to select the layer and I'm going to hit Ctrl Z again and again. And then before you select your path, you can set this number. So for example, if we type 32 and then select this path and then we hit the A key and add a point here, you can see that the repetition has increased. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. Next, we have Color Points tool. I'm going to hit Ctrl and click on somewhere to deselect all of the points. Then if you click on one of these points, you can set a color for it. See? For example, let's say we want a red color. And if I click on OK, the area of this shape that is around this point will be red. To extend it, you can type more value, like for example 5. See? To clear the color of a point, all you have to do is to just select that point and click on clear, like this. Next, we have Layer Transform tool. Using this tool, there is an origin at the center of every layer, as you can see. To explain this, first I'm going to draw some shapes inside this layer. So I'm going to hit the S key and draw some shapes. Then I hit the M key to select this tool. If you want to move all of the shapes inside the layer, you can use this tool. See? I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. Again, we have these two rectangles, one big, one small. And also every time you change the position of your layer, you can reset it using this one. Or if you change the scale of it, you can reset it. And also if you rotate it, you can reset it using this one. You can flip your layer horizontally. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z, or vertically. Again, I hit Ctrl Z. Or if you create an animation, there will be a line that shows the movement of your layer. We call it motion path. If you want to show it, check this option. If you want to hide it, uncheck it. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z and press the home key on my keyboard to reset my view. You can rotate all of these shapes around your origin. If you want to move your origin, first you have to choose this tool. And now if I click on here and then press M key on the keyboard to select the Transform Layer tool, I can rotate all of the shapes inside my layer around where my origin is. See? I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. As you may have noticed, these tools that we have here in this section are related to all of the layers that we have in this layer, no matter what points are selected. The next tool is Follow Path. If we select it, we have to choose a path. But because the path that I have on my other layer is too short, first I'm going to click on here and hit the T key to select the Transform tool, hold down the Control and drag to select one of its points. And since I'm in frame 24, I click on here to go back to frame 0 because I don't want to create an animation. And then I move this point to the left. After that, I hit the A key, add some curve points to this shape. And then I click on here. So now using Follow Path, we can click on the path to select it. And now our layer follows the path. The left side of our path is 100% and the right side of it is 0%. So we can say that first we want it to be at the beginning of our path, and then we click on the frame 24 and type 100. And now I'm going to play the animation by pressing the space bar. See? We use Follow Path when it's hard to create a movement manually. So we can first draw that path and then we tell the layer to follow that path. Let me delete this keyframe and go back to frame 0 and delete this layer. Next, we have Rotate Layer XY. If we select it, we can actually rotate our layer in 3D space. We had a similar tool when we were talking about this section. This tool, Perspective Points, only affects the points that we have selected. So right now, because the star is selected, if I drag to the right or left, I can create an illusion of perspective. But as I explained it to you, if we orbit around our shapes, you can see that it's completely flat and it's just an illusion. It only changes the position of the points to create an illusion of perspective. Now I'm going to press the home key on the keyboard to reset my view and choose this tool to see what the difference is. This tool is called Rotate XY, and using it, you can actually rotate your layer in 3D space. So for example, if I type 45 here and press enter and choose this tool to orbit around my shapes, you can see that we have actually rotated them. I'm going to reset the view. When using this tool, you can reset your values using this option. And rather than rotating your layer around the x-axis, you can rotate it around your y-axis like this. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. When we were talking about this section, we had a tool called Shear Points. It only affects the points that we have selected and not the other points. But if you want to shear the whole layer, you can choose this tool. See? But as you can see, it's very hard to use this tool, and the reason is by dragging on a layer, we are shearing the layer in all axes at the same time. To shear every axis individually, let me reset it. It's better to use Shift key when you're using this tool. So now, because I'm holding down the Shift key, if I drag to the right or left, I can only change the value of the x-axis, or you can hold down the Shift key and drag to the top or bottom to change the value of the y-axis. I'm going to reset it. Next, we have this tool, Layer Selector. It's actually a very useful tool. To explain how to use it, first I'm going to open a new document. So for example, in this project, I have a lot of layers. And let's say we want to choose the hair of this character. It's very hard to look for the hair of this character in all of these layers. To find it, all you have to do is to just select this tool and click on the hair. Or for example, if you want to select a car, you can click on it and it will find the body of the car. Or to select this character, you just have to click on it. See? It saves you a lot of time. Let's go back to our document. I'm going to hit the T key, hit Ctrl A to select all of the points, and then Delete key to delete all of them. And because the origin of my layer is here, I'm going to select the origin and reset it. Next, we have text. Using this tool, you can write a text here. For example, hello. You can choose your font from here. Also, if you have created some styles, using a style window, you can apply them to your text from here. Also, your text can have fill, which is now black, or have a stroke. Let me increase it and change its color. And if you check this one, it will create your text as a shape. Or if you want to have it in a text layer, you can check this one. I'm going to uncheck this one. To explain the rest of the options, first I'm going to type another word here in the second line and add a balloon to our shape. So we click on here, you can select any type of balloon that you want. I'm going to select this one, and since the size of everything is too big, I'm going to decrease it. So I'm going to type 20 here to scale it. And as you can see, if you change the scale, it's going to change the size of your text and the size of your balloon at the same time. See? I'm going to type 20 again. And using this option, you can change the space between lines. See? And if you want to write from the left side, you choose left. Or if you want to write from the right side, you choose right. I'm going to choose center. And using this one, you can change the space between letters. See? And from here, you have some settings for your balloon. For example, using this one, you can change the shape of your tail, or you can extreme it, make it more gentle, splat it, or spin it to this direction, or the other way, or make it wild. See? This is the fill of your balloon, this is the stroke of your balloon, and the width of it. And if you want to change the size of your balloon without changing the size of your text, you can increase this one. See? To flip your balloon, you can use this one to flip it vertically, or that one to flip it horizontally, and we use this one to allow your balloon to change its proportions so we can have it right around our text. If you want to keep the proportion the same, you have to check this option. And it will always have this rectangular shape that it has right now. I'm going to click on OK. Let me hit the T key to select the transform tool and delete my text and its balloon. To explain the last tool of this section, I'm going to hit the S key and draw a shape. Then I'm going to hit the T key and then I hit Ctrl C to make a copy of it and Ctrl V to paste it and move my new shape to here. I'm going to hit Ctrl V again and move it to here. And again, I repeat this action. So this time I'm going to hit Q, select one of these shapes, change its color, and give it a shadow like this one. And now as you can see, this shape has a different style from the other ones. If you use this tool, you can pick the style of other shapes. See? Now the shadow is gone, the fill of the shape changes. There is an easier way actually, rather than choosing this tool. To explain it, I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. You have to use this tool, select shape tool. So I'm going to hit Q. So here's the thing. If you want to pick a style from other shapes, you just have to hold down the Control. See? It applies the style of the shape that you click on it to the shapes that are selected. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z, and it also has an advantage, and that is you can also apply the same style to other shapes. See? If I hold down the Control and Alt and click on these shapes, I can apply the same selected styles to these shapes. To explain the camera tools, first I have to create a 3D scene. So I'm going to hit the T key and Ctrl A to select all of the points and delete them. Next, I'm going to hit the S key, select rectangle, and I'm going to hit Ctrl G to enable my grid. If your grid doesn't look like mine, you can go to View and change its settings from here. Also make sure that there is no check here next to disable grid snapping. So it means that my grid snapping is now enabled. And then every time you draw something, it snaps to the lines of this grid that we have here. Now I'm gonna draw a 2x2x2 cube. So I'm gonna start to draw from here to here. I don't want my shape to have a shaded effect, so I hit the Q, select my shape, and choose plane for this effect. And also I want it to have a yellow color. Next, I'm going to hit the T key and check the position of my points. So I'm going to hold down the Control and drag. This is -1. So it means that this one is also correct. Let me drag on here. So since I want to draw a 2x2x2 cube, this one here should be 1. The number that we see here is in relation to the origin of the layer. So we drag and move it to the left. By holding down the shift, you can make sure you're moving these 2 points horizontally, and now they're 1. So now we have a square, 2x2. I'm going to hold down the Control and click on somewhere, and then I select this layer. This is the back face of our cube, so I'm going to type -1 and duplicate it. This should be our front face, so I type 1. I duplicate it. Let's reset its positions. This time I want this shape to be the right face of my cube, so I type 1 here and select this tool and type 90 here. I'm going to duplicate it and choose Transform Layer tool and type -1 for the x-axis. Next, I'm going to duplicate it. Let's reset its positions and also reset its rotations. I'm going to rotate it this way and move it to the top. So I type 1 for the y-axis, and then I duplicate it again and type -1 for the y-axis. Now, by holding down the Shift key, I select my first layer to select all of the layers. Then I right click on one of them and choose Group with Selection. Let's call it Cube 1. and press enter to confirm its name. Then if you move it and hit Ctrl G to hide your grid and try to rotate it, you can see that there is some problem with showing the faces of it. To fix this problem, you just double click on your cube, go to depth sort, and check these two options and click on OK. See? Now I can reset my rotation and click on here to hide the sublayers of this group. Then I'm going to use this tool to orbit around my cube. See? Now this is our camera. I want to have some cubes around it, so I can explain the tools of our camera. This is our first cube, so let's set its position. I'm going to choose layer, move this cube to the right, and rotate it a little bit like this. Then I duplicate it, move the new one away from the camera, and type 0 for its X value. And I'm going to also reset its rotation. Again, I'm going to duplicate it, move it closer to the camera, and also a bit to the left, and rotate it. Let me duplicate it again. I'm going to move this one to here and rotate it closer than this. And I'm going to make a copy of the first cube and move it to the top, move it closer and rotate it maybe by 90 degrees. And now I'm going to press the home key on the keyboard to reset my view. Using this tool, you can change the position of your camera. When we say the position of the camera, it means that we're actually moving the camera and not zooming. Also, you should know that the default value of the Z-axis is not 0. So if we type, for example, 0 here and click on reset, it will go back to this value again. Therefore, for example, you can move your camera towards this cube that we're looking at. And now if we select this tool and orbit, you can see that now the camera has moved from this position to there. Let me reset the view. But when you use this tool, you're actually zooming and you're not changing the position of your camera. What is the difference? Let me click on here and reset the position of it. If we want to zoom in using this tool, the position of the camera won't change. But as soon as you use this one, you can actually pass through this object. See? If we orbit, the camera is now far away from our objects. Let me reset my view. Next, we have this option. So there are some situations that you have a lot of objects and you want to rotate all of them, but since we have a lot of layers, rotating them takes a lot of time. Instead of doing this, you can rotate your view. See? And the cool thing is that all of these values of these tools can be animated. See? For example, we can change it, move the camera closer, like here. Let's see what does it look like. See? Let me delete all of them and go back to frame 0 and reset them. Next, we have this option, which helps us to look around just like a human. See? If you want to look around horizontally, you can hold on the Shift key, which we called pan. And if you want to look around vertically, which we called tilt, you can hold on the Shift and drag up and down. See? I'm gonna reset it. And as you can see, using all of these tools, you're not actually changing anything in your workspace, and only the values of your camera will be changed. And this is the area that can be rendered by your camera. You can't render what's outside of it. But sometimes when you're drawing something or animating something, you just want to zoom in to have a better look at your shapes, and you don't want to move your camera to ruin your view. And that's when you use these options. Using them, the view of your camera will remain and only the workspace will be changed. To pan your workspace, One way is to hold down the right click no matter what tool is selected, like this. Or another way is to use this tool. See, by dragging I can pan, and if you want to zoom in and zoom out, no matter what tool is selected, you can hold down the shift key, and by holding your right click and dragging to the right or left, you can zoom in or zoom out. Another way of doing this is to use this tool. So now if I drag to the right or left, I can zoom in or zoom out. Again, no matter what tool is selected, if you hold down the control by holding down the right click and dragging in a circular way, you can rotate your workspace. Or another way of doing this is to use this tool. See, by dragging, you can do this. To reset your view, there are multiple ways. One way is to press home key on your keyboard like this. Another way is to click on here. Another way is to go to view and select reset. And the last way is to click on here to split your view and then go back to single view again. This way you can reset your view. Using orbit, you can rotate around your shapes. But remember, this is not the view that you're gonna see in your render. If you want to see this view in your render, you have to set your camera for this view. To do that, you can just press home key to reset your view. Then you can move your camera back like this and move it upper. And then using this tool, you can look down like this and maybe change its view to find the best view for yourself. Note that every time you create an animation for your camera, like for example this one, if you click on here, you're gonna see a motion path for your camera, and you can also move its points and change it, change the way of moving your camera through your animation. See, to hide it, you just have to click on here. There is also a faster way to set your camera in your scene, and that is using pan and tilt camera. See, using this tool, you can orbit with your camera around your shapes. The point that this tool orbit around it is this much away from the camera. So to see that how much the center of this scene is away from our camera, you can just select track camera and see the number here. All we have to do is to just click on it, hit Ctrl C to copy it. Then we click on pan and tilt camera and paste the value here by hitting Ctrl V, and I press the enter. Now to orbit, you hold down the Alt key and drag. See? This is a very fast way to change the position of the camera and pan and tilt at the same time. If you want to rotate your camera around the closer shape, you reduce this value, and if you want to rotate your camera around the shape like this that is far away, you have to increase this value. That's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Would you like to see more? Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one.